Thank you. Thank you, Sven. Yes.
Half a day.
Sorry, I have an echo here. So go ahead, Robert.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, half a day, everybody. This is Robert Deleon Guerrero, and
Joshua Santos, good morning.
yeah, we're basically just sharing one tablet. Good morning from Saipan. We are under the CNMI Bureau of Environmental and Coastal Quality, Division of Environmental Quality, and we are working for the Site Assessment and Remediation Branch. Next slide, please.
So this is our administrator, Mr. Eli D. Cabrera, and our director, Jonathan Ariola, and the director for Coastal Resources Management, Janice E. Costu. Next.
Next slide. Yeah. So as Josh pointed out, under BCQ, there's two divisions. We work under the Division of Environmental Quality, whereas there's a division of Coastal Resource Management, which work closely with coastal resources, wetlands, and anything pertaining to the ocean. Right, next slide.
Thanks. That's Minro.
Yeah, this is one of our site visits to the Brownfields former Cowtown site. This is when Noemi came down to Saipan. Next slide, please.
So the Site Assessment and Remediation Program conducts environmental oversight of surplus sites and manages the Brownfields program. The program also works closely with the Department of Defense to identify and investigate contamination of floods and other searches for the contaminated sites of the island. The CNMI State Response Program provides leadership in the CNMI's prevention, planning, response, elimination, and mitigation of releases of harmful pollutants or contaminants.
Next slide, please. So just as Josh pointed out, under the Site Assessment Remediation Program, we manage the Brownfields program, where we work closely with Noemi Emmerich Fort, who is the US EPA Region 9 Brownfields Coordinator. And on the other hand, too, we also work closely with Lori Wong, who is the US Army Corps of Engineers Honolulu District Program Manager.
Next. So for one of the sites is the Tonopah Fuel Farm, formerly U.S. Naval Operating Base during and after World War II. So in that fuel farm, there are 42 tanks, which were dispersed over 96 acres of the village in Tonopah.
Yeah. So in addition to that, with this 42 tanks, the capacity varies between 10,000 and 1,000 barrels, which stored Navy special fuel oil, diesel fuel, and aviation gasoline. And this was mostly towards like the post-World War II time. And just to go fast forward, so in 2006, there was a removal action that was for 6 ASTs that were considered high priority with together with DEQ and US EPA. And then in 2015, there was a removal action of 7 tanks in the Tonopah and Sarugtasi village. Next slide, please.
So this is a aerial photo from 1945 of the village of Tonopah.
Yeah, so if you look on the photo, the red square further up is encompasses the Tanapak fuel farm, whereas the bottom square is the Saduktasi fuel farm. Next slide, please.
This is a picture from 2015 of the area in Tanapak. And all the red dots are points for the tanks.
So just to point out, with this 2015 photo, with the red dots indicating the location of tanks, some of them were either remnants or some were completely demolished right after the post-World War II time. So next slide, please.
This is a photo of one of the tanks in Tanapak.
Yeah, and one of the unique things about these tanks is that a lot of these tanks are located within private properties. Like for one, this is the Norita family property, and just in that one lot, there was a total of six tanks that were situated in their farm. But to date, those tanks were removed, and there was confirmation sampling done, and it was considered safe. Okay, next slide, please.
Another photo of the remnants of the tanks in Tanapak.
And next slide, please. So in the previous slide, as you've seen, those were tanks that were located in the Tanapak fuel farm, as Josh pointed out, across 96 acres. Here in the Saduktasi fuel farm, you would see there's a total of 4 tanks. And it is located right next to the CUC wastewater treatment plant. Next slide, please.
Yeah, here's the photo of the tank 37 you saw in the square. This is in Sarutasi.
Yeah, so this was the largest out of the 4 tanks in the Saruktasi fuel farm. This picture is prior to the removal and cleaning out of the product in the tank. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so here in these photos, the first photo on the left is where the leak was found and like sludge and fuel petroleum were found. And on the bottom right is the removal of the tank.
Yeah, and in this process, they definitely remove. I think it was about a foot of product mixed with water. They removed it and cleaned out the tank, and because of these few tanks being constructed way back, they did some they did some best management practices in making sure like any paint or residue that might contain lead, they're properly contained. Next slide, please.
Oh yeah, this is another picture from the Tanapak fuel farm. And in the first photo was where they were excavating the area, removing the remnants. And the bottom pictures are the remediation done with the
It's a slurry phase.
slurry phase.
Yeah. So in this slide, as you can see, this process didn't take. It took a couple of years to get done. With the typhoons that we've experienced, but located in this site, this is the Rowak family property. There was a total of 4 tank remnants. So those were eventually demolished, and they did some post excavation sampling. And at the bottom pictures, due to the post excavation sampling, they detected there was like high levels of some TPH and several other contaminants. So here they did what you call a slurry phase treatment. Next slide, please.
The next photo is the Cobbler Naval Supply Center, FUDS. Next slide. So the Cobbler Naval Supply Center is located southwest of Saipan, northwest of the international airport. Two tank farm areas divided by Espiritu Road, the Chalangkanoa Tank Farm and the Old South Tank Farm in Chalampio.
Yeah, so in total, it was about 96 acres. There was a total of 19 tanks. So similar to Tanapak, there were the capacities varied from 10,000 barrels to 1,000 barrels. And the reason why we pointed out both the Tanapak and Cobbler naval supplies is that even though there were few farms, we still came across a lot of UXOs. Yeah. Next slide, please.
It's a 1945 aerial photo again of the southern part of Saipan. This is the Cobbler Naval Supply Center in red.
Next slide, please.
This is the northern part of the Cobbler fuel farm. So this is from tanks 1 to 4.
5. Yeah.
Oh, 5, sorry.
Yeah, so similar to Tanapak Fuel Farm, a lot of these tank remnants were within private properties if next slide, please. Similar to tanks 6 to 10, there's a lot of residential homes that are located around these tanks. Next slide, please.
This is the southern part of the Cobbler Naval Supply Center. This is from tanks 10 to 19.
Okay, next slide, please.
It's a photo of tank.
This is a photo of tank number 2. The crazy thing about these tanks is that aside from being located within private property, or some of them were situated near wetland areas. So, next slide, please. With this project, it got kicked. It has been done since the 1990s. But as far as field work, the field work was actually supposed to begin in July of this year. But due to the COVID pandemic, a lot of it had to be pushed back to January 2021. Next slide, please. So here's another MMRP site. This is known as the Marpi Point Field. Next slide, please. So with the Marpi Point Field, this is one of the largest FUD sites on Saipan. So here in this picture, it basically provides an overview of a digital geomapping map of the site. So various transects were cut across the site, and they used that DGM instrument to detect any metal anomalies. So as long as along the transects, if you see on the map, those little triangles, they depict some of the UXOs that were discovered on the surface. So just keep in mind that the heat map, even though it's blue, doesn't mean there's no UXOs or anomalies detected. This site is heavily littered with UXOs and NEC. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Here's a photo of a UXO found at the MMRP in Marpi, and the size comparable to the multi-2 is pretty big.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about this Marpi Point Field, Saipan being a battlefield back in World War II, aside from US ammunitions and UXOs, There was a lot of encounters also with Japanese UFOs and munitions. Next slide, please. So, yeah, in this project, for in the CNMI, we have a local agency which used to handle UXO response, which was the Department of Public Safety. But now that has been turned over to the Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services. So for any UXOs that were deemed safe to move, they would be taken to the bunker in Marpi. Next slide, please.
Okay, so here's a photo of a grenade found at one of our beaches. And the funny thing about these photos was our boss took a photo.
Yeah, so this shows to prove that even though you'll be out in the beach enjoying with your family, a very high chance that there's UXOs around. Next slide, please.
Okay, so our challenges, we don't have a UXO technician on island, but there's assistance provided by the Navy EOD from Guam. We are in need of UXO awareness training, having staff registered to take UXO Technician 1 course. DFEMS is the primary agency in response to any UXOs discovered. However, lack of personnel due to other duties. With new developments in the CNMI, there's a high chance of UXOs being uncovered during intrusive activities. UXOs are everywhere on the surface and in the subsurface.
Yeah, so especially with like a lot of these new developments, we definitely require a lot of the developments to have a UXO monitoring support for sure. Next slide, please.
Next. So other FODS projects, NAFTAM bomb storage, NAFTAM ordnance disposal, hospital dump site, ordnance plan, Northview in Marpi, and the Tinian mortar range from the US Navy, NAVDAC.
Next slide, please. Yeah, we're gonna just skim through some photos. This is photos of the UXO response unit with DPS. Next slide, please.
Next.
Yeah, this is a photo of the Navy EOD team with was this another photo of the bunker?
Next. This is the bomb pits in Marpi.
Okay, next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please.
Next.
Next.
Up. Up.
Okay,
So here's the US Navy EOD team.
Yeah. Yeah, then next slide. Next slide, please. So for any more information, you guys can definitely go to our public record website, and it lists brownfield sites and FOD sites as well. Next slide, please. And just remember the 3 R's of explosive safety: recognize,
Retreat, and report.
Thank you.
Thank you.